Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Laugh Long and Prosper, Shelf Help with a Smile. Hey there, I'm Judy Croon, Canada's Keynote Humorist, and on this episode of Laugh Long and Prosper, I would like to add something to the Shelf Help section. A book review, The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment by Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now should be on everybody's bookshelf. I still remember the day when I saw this quirky spiritual teacher and self-help guru being introduced to us on Oprah's show. Winfrey was so impressed with Tolle that she recommended The Power of Now in her magazine, O. 2 years later, the book reached #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. And 6 years from that point, it was translated into over 33 languages. But before I get into this book review, did you know that Eckhart Tolle was homeless for 2 years? Indeed, from park bench to prophet, you could almost say. Tolle lived a life that could only be described as extraordinary. Born in Germany, he wandered through Spain and studied in England before finding himself as a researcher at Cambridge University. Now, despite battling with suicide obsession, depression, and anxiety, he eventually found spiritual enlightenment. At one point, he found himself isolated from society, homeless and jobless. But instead of despair, he embraced the simplicity of his new life. For 2 years, he roamed the streets, finding solace in park benches and the beauty of the world around him. People were intrigued by his inner peace and sought to learn his secrets. So Tolle emerged as a prominent spiritual teacher, spreading his message of mindfulness and living in the present to people all over the world. Now, in The Power of Now, Tolle challenges us to break free from the voices in our heads, our egos. Instead, he reminds us to stay in the present, the here and now, because he stresses the present is really all we have. He basically says that there is no use worrying about the past or the future because events only happen in the now. The past and future only occur during a constant stream of now moments. One of his quotes is so true. It's not uncommon for people to spend their whole life waiting to start living. So, are you constantly living in the past or living in the future or kind of both? Let's talk about why living in the present moment is so crucial. I mean, think about it. The past is already done and dusted, and the future hasn't even happened yet. The only time we truly have control over is right now, at this moment. By focusing on the present and being fully engaged in what's happening around us, we can make the most of our experiences and truly appreciate everything life has to offer. Tolle describes the damage and waste of time that we do to our thoughts by thinking either too much about the past or too much about the future. He says that when we think too much about the past and not enough about the present, we create guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, sadness, bitterness, and all forms of non-forgiveness in our thoughts. Then he also says when we think too much about the future, we create fear in the form of unease, anxiety, tension, stress, and worry in our thoughts. Come on, folks, let go my ego. Tolle highlights the importance of understanding the role of the ego in our lives and how it can prevent us from experiencing true happiness and contentment. By recognizing the ego for what it is, really just kind of a fabrication of our minds that often leads us down those dark alleys, we can start to detach from its influence and live more authentically. Throughout the book, Tolle offers practical advice and exercises for how readers can cultivate mindfulness and presence in their daily lives. From breathing techniques to meditation practices, he provides readers with the tools they need to break free. One of my favorite exercises that he describes is trying to stay in a state of permanent alertness or active waiting. This technique is like being on high alert, knowing that something big could happen at any time. In this state, your focus is entirely on the present moment. For example, if you were practicing active waiting while you were writing an exam, you would have no time to drift off, be distracted, or even start worrying about your answers. Instead, you would be fully focused and present while you were writing the exam. Now, by embracing active waiting before and during the exam, it can also help you stay in the zone. During active waiting, it is also important to stay tuned to your body. In other words, stay in a state of preparedness for whatever comes your way. Practicing active waiting with your body and your mind is the key to living in the moment, Tolle says. Another example of active waiting that Tolle gives is an exercise that the Zen masters used to do with their students. As the students were practicing active waiting with their eyes closed, the Zen masters would sneak up behind them and sort of hit them, trying to catch them off guard. This forced the students to focus entirely on their bodies, allowing them to sense the approaching masters and dodge the quote-unquote attacks. So next time you find yourself waiting, embrace the active waiting mindset and see where it takes you. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is a longtime bestseller that challenges readers to break free from the constant chatter in their heads and embrace the power of living in the present moment. Through practical exercises and insights, Tolle guides readers on a journey towards greater peace, fulfillment, and authenticity. However, some readers may find Tolle's ideas challenging or difficult to grasp at first, especially if they're new to the concept of mindfulness or spiritual growth. And personally, I love Tolle's concepts. I read this book a long time ago and reread it for this book review. But I can sympathize with a first-time reader. Also, if you look up Tolle in countless videos and talk shows, he's not the most dynamic personality, but he is genuine and he is incredibly insightful. I think The Power of Now is a must-read for anyone seeking to deepen their understanding of mindfulness and spiritual growth, and I highly recommend it to readers from all backgrounds and beliefs. Two quotes that I would like to end this book review with. Two of my favorite Eckhart Tolle quotes. This first one is for procrastinators. Any action is often better than no action, especially if you've been stuck in an unhappy situation for a long time. If it's a mistake, at least you learn something, in which case it's no longer a mistake. If you remain stuck, you learn nothing. And finally, the second quote, this is especially for pet lovers like myself. Eckhart said, "I have lived with several Zen masters, all of them cats." All right, folks, well, The Power of Now, check it out, add it to your bookshelf. And by the way, folks, if you want to check out any of my other Laugh Long and Prosper episodes, you can find them on any of the streaming sources, i.e. Amazon, Apple, SoundCloud, Spotify. And if you want to drop me a note, just go to my website, judycroon.com. Again, until next time, laugh long and prosper.